Lewis, obviously, college football changed a lot about 3 years ago with NIL and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see Pitt's place in this new world of college sports?
That's a great question. Look, I think there's no question that in order for you to be able to compete with what I like to call the super teams that are really being formulated, there's about 10, 15 teams that right now from an IL perspective have got huge amounts of resources that they're utilizing. I think unless you have the resources to compete with them, there's going to obviously be there's going to be a division within the FBS as far as what reasonable expectations that you're going to have. Teams like SC, Bama, Clemson, Ole Miss, Penn State, Michigan. I mean, those teams right now maybe are operating at a whole nother level when it comes to that because of the amount of money that they have at their disposal. Now, for Pittsburgh, I mean, I'm not intimately familiar with what their resources are as far as what they can offer kids from an NIL perspective and how necessarily they're trying to go ahead and distribute that. But I know enough to know that they are working hard at. They are working to make sure that they can remain competitive and get the kind of players here that they know that they need to compete at the very highest level that they possibly can. And I think there's no question that, like, for as much as any of us can help out, pitch in, get people to invest in this program, the better it is for all of us. Because until they put some guardrails around what the rules are, I mean, it truly is now. It truly is the wild, wild west out there. This coming transfer period, I guess that's about to begin, after spring football. I was just doing some reading the other day and there were some people who were saying it's going to be about as crazy as you could possibly imagine, plus some. There are going to be teams that feel as though that they are set heading into the fall and that they are ready to go ahead and challenge and compete, whatever, relative to whatever their expectations were, and they're going to get blown out of the water thinking because their team's just going to change. And then there's going to be teams who think, you know what, maybe we have a 500 level team, maybe we'll be able to compete to go to a bowl game, a nice bowl game, and all of a sudden they're going to be in the mix for a college football playoff spot. That's how just quickly things are going to change in the next couple of months, and I don't know how that necessarily is good for college football. I don't think that kind of thing, I don't know how that's sustainable. And I'm hoping that there will be some really smart people who are able to get together and kind of get their arms around this situation so it kind of makes some sense to people. Because right now, there is no limit in terms of what you could do, and not everybody's operating, with the same amount of resources, and I don't know how that's good for anyone.
Lewis, building off of that, do you think the ACC is being treated unfairly compared to other major conferences, with Florida State missing out, and then even looking at basketball?
Being treated unfairly in regards to Florida State missing out on the CFP this year?
Mm-hmm.
No, look, I don't think it was an ACC thing. Okay, it wasn't we don't like that conference compared to the SEC or the Big Ten or Big 12. I don't think that was it at all. Look, I understand the people at Florida State were very emotional about that situation, considering that they did everything that they could do. I did 2 of their games personally against Virginia Tech and then here against Pitt, so I knew just how good this football team was. And I also know how things materially changed once Jordan Travis got hurt. Now, whether or not people feel as though that should have played any part in what the committee felt was their qualifications as it related to the playoff, but you're going to have people who, you saw how the country was really divided on that kind of thing. But no, I don't think it was an ACC thing. I think that was just a very unique case, and it just happened to be Florida State, happened to be the ACC, and people took it and ran with it from there. But no, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
With a smaller group of haves and a larger group of have-nots, do you fear for schools like Pitt, being sustainable down over the years?
Well, I think relative to what we have become accustomed to here and what I was used to before I started coming here, which was a team that was always on the cusp of competing for national championships, yeah, that worries me. Of course it does. Because fact of the matter is, some of these schools have things to offer and have money at their disposal that, look, not every team has. Not every university is able to, to rally up and be able to offer kids some of the things that some of these places are. And so, yeah, that worries me. One of the reasons why I think my connection, so to speak, to Pittsburgh has grown since I left here was the fact that I remember how it used to be here before I played here. My heroes were Dorsett, Green, Marino, Freilich, Julius Dawkins, Greg Meisner, Sal Sinceri, Carlton Williamson, Lynn Thomas. Those were my guys. I was in 6th, 7th grade then at the time. Jackie Sherrill, Joe Moore. Those were guys who I met when I was in grade school. This was a team that was always right there. They beat everybody, lose a game to North Carolina. Beat everybody, lose a game to Temple North. Something that would keep them out of the national title picture. I want to see them get back to that. Now, the pathway, how do you do that? How do you compete with the teams that have the resources that they have now? I mean, and I've seen them. Look, I've been all over the country now. I've seen how some of these programs are operating. It's amazing. It's amazing what some of these schools have at their disposal. It puts many NFL teams to shame. Some of these teams have multiple donors and people who can own NFL teams themselves. And they are heavily involved in the recruitment and procurement of kids 18, 19 years old coming to play for their school. I wouldn't say that it bothers me simply, from Pitt's perspective, because I want to see our school be able to compete on a level playing field. The playing field's not level. We all know that. So yeah, I don't know where this is going. None of us know where this is going. That's the problem.
Lewis, in your first answer, you talked about teams trying to stay afloat. With the expanded playoff picture, do you think that's also kind of a cause for hope? If you can constantly stay in the mix.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I'm not in any way, shape, or form, saying that the country should feel sorry for Pittsburgh, whether, relative to what other schools may have to offer their kids as far as what their collective can put together. We still have to go out there and compete, and we have to recruit, and we have to develop, and we have to prove it on the football field. And yeah, now that the CFP has been expanded, yeah, that gives a lot more teams hope. I mean, that's what people want. They want a chance to get into the mix, get into the tournament, so to speak. I mean, that's terminology that's used even at the NFL level. Just get in, because once you get in, then it's just one-off single elimination. Anything can happen. And now that there's more opportunities for people to get in, yeah, you should be fired up about that. Many teams are fired up about that. There are teams that got left out of the college football playoff last year that probably thought, if we could have just got in there, there's just no telling what we could have done. As strong as Michigan was, maybe we could have done some things. Okay, I went to see one of the teams. I did the Peach Bowl between the team in State College and Ole Miss. And we have a lot of respect for Penn State, don't get me wrong. But Ole Miss was one of those teams that, had they been able to get in there last year, there's no telling what they could have done. And they are going to be a juggernaut this year because of NIL, because of what Lane Kiffin has done down there and got kids to come there. He has just absolutely built that roster into like a super team. So yeah, it's going to be on many different fronts. It's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out.
Lewis, on the flip side, this program went 3-9 last year. You talked about these advancements in NIL and transfer portal. Do you feel that those can become a benefit to programs that are looking to build that back up, so to speak? And how could a program, you've been around a lot of football, how could a program that went 3-9 make that turnaround?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it's free agency every year, right? You get a couple key players, key positions. Yeah, you can flip your fortunes around in a hurry. You target the right people. You target the right people at the right positions who are true game changers. You can absolutely change things. You're going to see it this year, not just with Pitt. You're going to see it with other teams this year. Okay. Case in point. How did Colorado start off last year, right? And then some of their flaws were exposed as they got into the big league, so to speak. And teams started exposing them because they didn't have offensive linemen in particular, and defensive linemen. They went out and addressed that this year. They're gonna address it again in this window that's coming up. So yeah, there's an avenue for you to be able to really flip your fortunes on its head in a hurry. Both ways. You can wind up going into the summer thinking, I've got a squad, we're set. The next thing you know, 7, 8 starters are gone. And you didn't even know that those kids were talking to anybody. They could have been on the phone behind your back, being recruited by another. See, it's that kind of thing. That's the bad. The good is you can flip your fortunes around. Is that good for anyone? I mean, is that really how we want it? The NFL's not even like that. You know, so now that's what's happened here. Yeah, we got to get our arms around that.
What do you see?
Outside of the transfer portal, what do you think is the biggest thing that Pat Narduzzi has to do to turn this team around from 3-9?
You know, talking to the coaches that I've talked to over the past couple of years, I think there's a really smart coach who just changed teams this year, who built up one program, his school became really strong, and another team came in and swooped him up, and now he's in a bigger conference, and he's a fantastic coach. I think the number one thing that you have to do in college football right now is you have to make sure on the offensive side of the ball, you've got a quarterback, and you've got skilled players who can light it up and put points on the board. Now, that sounds easy. It sounds, well, yeah, no kidding. But it's a fact, because what happens is when you generate that kind of excitement, kids want to be associated with teams that score points, score touchdowns, are on SportsCenter, they're on TV, people are kind of like, looking through their Instagram. That's what kids want to see. They want to be around teams that are exciting. You have to pour a lot of resources into that side of the ball, and you have to open up that side of the ball and make it exciting, because that's what kids are attracted to. That will bring not only more offensive recruits in, it'll bring defensive recruits in too, because they're going to see a team that just looks exciting, that we're talking about in my job all the time, and that's what kids want to be. That's what they want now. They want to be talked about. They want to see their faces on SportsCenter. They want to see their faces on our social media pages. And all it has a snowball effect. The program that I'm talking about, that's exactly what they did. A new coach came in and he said that was his entire emphasis. He poured all of his resources into the offensive side of the ball, stockpile offensive linemen, quarterbacks, wide receivers. He just went all in. They couldn't stop anybody, quite honestly. But it started turning the corner because defensive players started going, you know what, I can help you out on the defensive side. Next thing you know, we're rolling. Next thing you know, they're winning 10 games. Next thing you know, there are other Power 5 teams coming after that coach. That's what people want. And you know what else it does? It puts people in the stands. Like, I'm a defensive guy. I don't mind the 7-3 game. But that's not what fans want to see either. People want to see excitement. They want to come to the stadium and go, you're going to light up that scoreboard. It's going to be fun. I don't necessarily always like the 51-49 type game. Fans, by and large, do. So I think you have to, and numerous coaches have told me that, you have to make sure that side of the ball is taken care of, because it just has a trickle-down effect on everything else regarding the program. Everything. Offensive coordinator, quarterback, playmakers. Score points. Do not have it be 3 yards and punt, 3 yards and punt, 3 downs and punt. You can't do that. Kids don't want to be involved with that. They just don't.
Do you think Pat has the talent to do that?
I haven't studied the current iteration of this roster recently. I know it's something that is. It was obvious that side of the ball had some juice. It needed to have an infusion of excitement and all. But Pat's a good football coach. He understands. He understands what the game requires right now, in order to win and in order to get other kids to come into the program.
I know we were just talking a lot about offense, but last month Eric Donald retired. What about this school allows it to just always have a Hall of Fame player?
I was just talking about that. All the greats that have played here. Look, this place has a tradition that can stack up against anyone's across the country. You put Pitt's all-time team together, and they can compete with any school out there. I think kids who really want to know a little bit about where they go to school and really do their homework, and it's not just about NIL and what kind of car am I getting and what kind of watch deal now, like what kind of private jet deal do I have. People who kids who care about legacy, care about history, when they look into Pitt's history, they go, dang. So you guys had that many All Pros, future Hall of Famers, you know, first rounders come from there. Maybe I can be the next one. And hoping we can get more, obviously, but we have a great history, and some people really want to be a part of history, and some people want to make new history. Some people are like myself. They don't like how Pitt is not at the forefront of everyone's mind when we're talking about the national picture like we used to be. And some kids go, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of turning that around and getting back to that. Some people go, you know what? I don't really want to be a part. I'll go over here where it's already in place. There'll always be some though who are willing to accept the challenge. You know what? I just talked to my son about this. My son's a 13-year-old AAU basketball player now who, to be quite honest with you, if he wasn't my kid, I'd be like, that kid's going to the NBA. That's just being honest. He's a freak now. Jump, run, shoot, score, all that stuff. And we talk about where he wants to go to school. And when I bring up Pitt, he goes, Dad, they didn't make it to the tournament. They're not, like, what? I'm like, but what if you were the reason why they did? What if you kind of started changing that trajectory? Because you were a top 5 recruit and you went there, and same way they're talking about this kid Cooper Flagg who's going to Duke now, who now, when you watch his highlights, I mean, he's just ridiculous. What if you could do that? There are people maybe out there who want to do that here for Pitt, you know, and who want that kind of challenge. I'm hoping there's more of them out there like Aaron, because what he has done, I mean, my God. He was, Aaron came up to ESPN a couple years ago, and he was standing outside the Sports Center studio. I remember one of our anchors or something said, do you know who that is over there? I go, I don't know who that is. I was like, it's Aaron Donald. They're like, there's no way that's Aaron Donald. Because Aaron looks very unassuming. You know, I said, I'll tell you what. Why don't you line up your guard and just take a couple of reps against him? The guy is just 100%, 1000% just fury. One of the greatest players of all time. I mean, I get goosebumps thinking about his career and what he did here. You're just hoping that there are people who understand that that's what Pitt has done throughout its history, put out guys like that. And there's many, many, many more. So hopefully that means something.
We have about a couple minutes left with Lewis before he has a commitment out on Arbor Avenue. A couple more, please.
Lewis, with your clothing line, how did it all come together? Why Mitchell and Ness, and why now?
The university came to me about it it was over a year ago, and started talking to my representatives about, you know, I guess I'm a semi-fashionable guy on TV. I've taken a liking to clothing, you know, and just how you present yourself. I mean, look, first impressions, you never get a second chance, you know, how all that goes there. So I really pay attention to kind of how I present myself. Obviously, the people here at our university notice that. They know that I love the school. So they creatively came up with the idea of, you know what, maybe there's something that could benefit all of us with that. You know, a vehicle by which, you know, you can help us, we can help you, it can kind of be a very good relationship. And then, you know, behind the scenes, like they worked with my reps, and then they found out they decided on who the manufacturer of this stuff would be. A year ago, March, we all got together in Philadelphia at Mitchell and Ness's headquarters and sat down there for an afternoon and basically they asked me, look, what do when we bring out all this stuff, they had racks of clothing. It was really cool. Racks of clothing. And they were like, what is it that what is Lewis Riddick? What would you buy? What would you want people to buy? One of the first things, they had a Philadelphia 76ers jacket, just like this. Black satin, I was like, that was the very first thing I picked up. This is my favorite piece of all of them. This is gonna sound like crazy. This is cool. And from there, it just kind of went, and it was so fun to do, and my family was involved, my wife was there, my kids came down one time, and Lori Burns was in the back here. I mean, she was there with the team, and it was just, you know, she would chime in, Lewis, it can't all be black, you know, it's gotta be some blue in there, and we went back and forth, and then it finally just all came to fruition, and it just, I think look, because of my profile and how much you see when I'm on TV from home, got the Pitt helmets, and I'm always saying Pitt this, Pitt that. I say it on TV, I say it at the draft, I say it all the time. Like it's just mutually, it's just one of those things that it's a way that I can help the school. It's just a part of who I've been associated with Pitt in some way, shape, or form since, like I said, when I was in 6th grade and I first met Jackie Sherrill. When he was coming to my cousin's house, Tim Lewis, who went to school here, and he was recruiting him. And I busted in on his little recruiting visit, and his mom was yelling at me, "Get out of here, get out!" And I was like, "You're Jackie Sherrill." And he's trying to recruit my cousin, and I'm sitting there messing up the whole recruiting. And I'm like, "Aren't you?" I was like, "You know Tony Dorsett's my favorite player." And Jackie took out this thing and wrote down, he's like, "You like Dorsett, huh?" And he wrote down on his little, Jackie was always sharp. Speaking about dressers. And he's like, "I'm gonna send you a Dorsett jersey." I told the story 1,000 times. Well, I never got the Dorsett jersey. And then Jackie recruited me at Texas A&M. And when I had committed to Pitt, Jackie was like, "Hey, are you sure? You know, like, we took the flight down to College Station." I was like, "Do you remember that time, Jackie, you promised me a jersey?" He's like, "What?" I said, "Do you remember? You promised me a Dorsett jersey." I said, "I ain't coming to College Station. Thank you, though." And now we still joke about it. It's just funny. It's so funny.
We'll
Yeah.
take 2 more. I know you got a question, Jeff.
You mentioned legacy and history, obviously with Pitt's historic football program, and then now with the clothing line going on TV, showing off these colors. What does being a Pitman mean to you, showing off this university, setting an example for your son, for others?
Yeah. Look, there was a time, right, where the script disappeared for a little while. Remember those days? That killed me. Okay, because the very first time I saw the Pitt script, the very first Pitt game I went to was, I believe, 1979 at the Vet, Pitt Temple. And I had just come from I don't know if you guys are familiar with Norsville University in Lancaster in the middle of the state. I had just come from, I believe, my brother's game. He was playing at the time. And Tim, my cousin, was a freshman at Pitt, and they were playing Temple down there. And I remember we got there like halftime. I remember as we were walking to our seats in the Vet, I just remember seeing, like, down the field, I remember seeing like Lynn Thomas and JoJo Heath and Carlton Williamson and all those guys. Like, these are like iconic names for me. Julius Dawk and Dwight Collins, all those guys, and they all had like the cut-off half jerseys. I just thought it was so cool how it looked when they ran, and that script stood out to me. I was like, that is just so damn cool. And I met Hugh Green that night outside the locker room, and Hugh was standing there, beside the. And when we came out of the locker room, Hugh had a full beard. He looked like he was 50 when he was 18. Like, he looked like a man then. I remember walking up to him and saying, "Mr. Green, can I have your?" I was hooked then. I was hooked at that moment. Hugh's now a good friend of mine. I tell him that story, he just laughs. He's like, "Really?" I was like, "You don't remember that, do you?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Yeah." Hugh, Ricky, all those guys. It started for me, the connection started for me a long time ago. Pitt used to put out, the late Alex Kramer used to have like these recruiting books that said "Pitt is it" on them. And on the front page was the picture of Kavanaugh and Dorsett when they won the championship down at the Sugar Bowl. With Kavanaugh celebrating and Tony said. Dorsett was the reason why I wore 33 all through Pop Warner. And I used to tell people, call me TD, because I'm Tony Dorsett and I scored touchdowns just like him. That's why I loved the Cowboys as a kid. It's been a long time running for me. This has been something that started way, way, way back. I've always had a connection here. Always. And always will.
Quick one from Jeff.
You mentioned the new style of offense. When you talk to your fellow alums or the Pitt people, they look at a Cade Bell and think, all right, is there excitement amongst your group about the way Pitt is transforming their offense?
There's a wait and see, right? We want to see, obviously. And look, Cade is someone who obviously, has a tremendous reputation. But, we don't, I think at this point, the alumni just want to see, they just want to see results. They just want to see excitement on the field. They just want to see touchdowns. They just want to see it and see it be sustained. And ultimately, it's not even just so much as about, although I talked about how offensive play, quarterback recruitment, all that stuff plays a big role in how you build teams now, because that's what kids are looking for. Ultimately, I think what the alumni want to see is like what I was talking about that I saw when I was a kid, which was this team was always 10-1, 9-2, 10-1, right on the cusp. I can go on YouTube right now. I sit at home. I was just doing this. Pull up in the 79, 80 Pitt Penn State games where these guys were ranked 1 in the country, 2 in the country. They were playing on Thanksgiving weekend, national TV, Keith Jackson, and those guys. I mean, that's what I grew up on. That's what people want to see again. Hopefully, we can find a way to get back to that kind of, competing at that level. I think that's what all the alumni ultimately want.
Louis, thank you for your time.
Yeah.